noticed lately in popular media some ciphers and coding in reference to an elusive and interesting species of creatures that very much fascinates me. When something fascinates me, I like to do some research and find out more. That is the most important attribute of a good scholar. Of course, such curiosity is often frowned upon in global society, though there is a certain agenda being pushed to cover that up. But I have some things to share with you, and though YouTube may not leave up the video for too long, I'm going to say the name of the creature. And it'll probably come up on algorithms, audio search and stuff, but whatever. If YouTube takes it down, I'll try to provide you with a way to watch the video externally. I'm one who believes in that knowledge should not be kept from the general population. But Alphabet Inc. does not agree, so we'll see how this goes. Moving on. I've noticed lately in popular media some ciphers and coding in reference to an elusive species of creatures that very much fascinates me. The blemmyae were creatures that had a very unique attribute, namely that they are headless. And their faces are on their stomachs, and their eyes are just below their shoulders. And, these were first described as inhabitants of the Nile River in Ethiopia at that time. Later, traditions confined their habitat to a particular island in the Bressone River. Sightings and descriptions moved with a border of European exploration. India, Brazil, Libya, etc. This was before we'd explored all of the Earth, as they tell us. The Nuremberg Chronicle mentions them, though. That chronicle bunches them together with monopods and cyopods, as some sources call them. I don't want to get into monopods in this session for fear of scaring away anyone curious about the blemmyae. That would displease me. Anyway, they appear in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle as well, under the patronage of King Alfred in the 9th century, and continued until the 12th century. And some argue that their appearance in the scriptures discredit the scripture itself. For me, the jury is still out on this. You understand? Some mentions from the 11th century and Jesus years, not Jerahim years, have been found in relation to the black market for holy relics that thrived back then, with con men selling fake religious artifacts to devout Christians. Among the thieves, the fake Jesus relics were referred to as blames, which I believe to be a reference to the blemmyae. In regards to their potential origin, numerous theories have centered around the idea that the original blemmyae warriors may have carried shields with faces on, or that they marched with their heads tucked close to their chests or something. Others make links with Shut up. Where was I? There are links with how some monkeys like the bonobos sit with their shoulders hunched up, with their head down, like this. And so just various tribes may have sat similarly, or that the apes themselves were like a missighting or something. The blemmyaes were in fact a real African people, forming a nomadic kingdom in northern Nubia between 600 and 300 BC, though they were probably not headless. Other famous wild men, or wild species similar to these, included the monopods or cyopods, which I'm not really going to get into, but they had a single leg with a foot so large they could use it as a parasol above their heads. And then there were the cannibalistic anthropophagi. This is very important. Pliny the Elder, and I know what you're thinking, hear me out. later wrote in his Naturalis Historia that the same cannibals near Scythia wore the scalps of men on their chest. The anthropophagi, whom we have previously mentioned as dwelling 10 days' journey beyond the Borysthenes, according to the account of Isignius from Nicaea, were in the habit of drinking out of human skulls and placing the scalps with the hair attached on their breasts like napkins. This is a quote from the book. Another species in the same vein would be the cynocephali, a race of creatures with the bodies of men and the head of dogs. The word cynocephali is taken from the Greek word kaino, which means dog, and kephali, which means head. And had a bit of an epiphany in stage 2 of learning about the cynocephali, where I thought to myself, Anubis was an Egyptian deity, the god of mummification, and mainly the afterlife. He was described to have the head of a jackal and a human body. Interesting. Remember what Anubis and the jackal represent, because, and I want you to hold on to your seats for this one, because it gets a little crazy. The day of the jackal is a term used to describe the day of an assassination attempt on French dude Charles de Gaulle. The hypothetical has been presented that during the failed assassination attempt, where he and his wife were ambushed by mounted machine guns, the assassins replaced Charlie with a blemmyae. Evidence supporting this claim is as follows. When he really died, quite late at the age of 79, he felt a sudden pain in his neck. This could have been the result of a failure of like a fake head that the blemmyae was using, which may have killed the blemmyae wearing it, sort of like a spring trap. The death happened in 1970, and this was the very same year a special insect was first discovered, a beetle called Anubis striatus. Anubis, the day of the jackal. Something to think about. The most recent adaptation of these creatures was done by Rick Riordan, an author. Now there are a few things to notice about this. They first appear in a book called The Dark Prophecy. Now, I don't think I need to explain here, but I'll give you a hint. Dark Prophecy. DP. Not very subtle. And the second one is that in the book, the blemmyae are described as polite. Even during combat, they speak in a respectful tone, and they are also colorblind. There's plenty more symbolism to uncover, though. I think there is merit to the idea of feeling headless. In Sam Harris's Waking Up, which is a novel, this was described as the sudden realization of the self-illusion and the feeling of pure, blissful, expansive consciousness that followed his epiphany. It made him feel like he had no head. Looking at it that way, you could draw parallels to studies on patients who were given experimental dosages of ayahuasca, which is a psychoactive brew from the area of the world also associated with the blemmyae. I'm personally leaning towards a different perspective, however, which is that the headlessness represents a sense of accomplishing nothing and feeling like you lack agency in life, or rather that the agency you possess makes no difference in the grand scheme of things. And we've seen the sentiment many times in historical culture, so it's not outlandish to suggest that this creature could represent feeling like a headless chicken, which is a term that originates from as early as the 14th century in England, when chickens ran around in panic and crashed into objects after having their heads chopped off with an axe before dropping dead. Shut up. To close things out, I want you to think about a few things. First off is a little fun fact. A term which I don't like to use in regards to research because it could be misrepresented as fun. It's not. This is a serious topic. These creatures inspired Humpty Dumpty. Think of that, what you will. But more importantly, they have been described as not very disease immune. That's chilling, huh? With recent events in consideration. Something to think about.